Hello, hello, and welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. Um, I hope you, I hope you had a good week. Um, this week I I live in London, so in the UK. So it's not been a great week, which actually is not that surprising, to be honest. I feel like it's been a long time coming. I said that, and I'm obviously referring to the um, terrorist attack in Manchester on Yom Kippur. It's yeah, we could have seen that coming from miles away. It was just a question of when will it happen, not will it happen. You know, um, but yeah, it's been a weird week. I I think it started pretty rough. I struggled with back pain since a couple of weeks ago, and I managed to see a physio last week, which was great because after seeing the physio and I got the help. Shout out to Esther for being the. I mean, I was very lucky to have found her. She was the first physio that I've been to, but she's been, and having actually heard stories from other people, like bad stories. I was quite scared, and yeah, again, shout out to Esther for being the best freaking physio. 100%. Success rate with me. She helped me out at the beginning of the year. Injured my back again. She's helped me out again. This time, the twist is that I will be keeping up to, doing the exercises and stretching a bit more and do much better with that because I became kind of lazy. In that respect, I got a bit cocky. After the first time, I've managed to get my back sorted. But yeah, so that was the beginning of the week. Then um, managed to do the Yom Kippur, the fast, which was beautiful. And on Thursday, I got to record the episode that you're gonna listen to. Um, but before that, I think it's good to talk about what the fuck happened. You know, because it was such a shock in the moment. Once again, the fact that there has been um, the Jew hatred in this country. It's showing, and it's escalated. It's not surprising, but the fact that you hear about it in the moment, and for me, the way it worked is that I woke up. I didn't actually use any social media or anything. I didn't put a telly on, and went for the service. Then I looked at my watch. I was like, okay, fine. I need to go home, get ready to speak with Johnny, um, and then on the way, no, on the way, I'm home now, and I'm about to go to jump on the virtual room, to record. And here is the notification, that a terrorist attack has been, that committed in Manchester. That and it's outside the synagogue. And I was like, okay, I'll just okay. Let me just focus on the podcast that I have to record. Um, yeah, actually, it wasn't even the notification. Wasn't that it was a terrorist attack? It was just that there was an incident or something like that outside the synagogue. And I start, I say hello to Johnny, and then he goes like, "Oh, I just want to say, Lou, I'm really sorry to hear about the news in UK. I hope you're okay." I was like, "What?" what? And then and then we started recording after we had a little bit of a chat, and I hope you're gonna enjoy this episode. I think I had such a lovely time speaking with Johnny, and he's someone that I've been following for I think ever since around October 7th. You know, um, and it's amazing. The work that he does, and then just the way he is as a person. It's wonderful, and this episode is. I hope you'll find it as meaningful as it can be, because again, it's going to be dropped in what around the 2 year anniversary anniversary commemoration of one of the most heinous and barbaric events in the history, um, probably at least in the history of you know like live stream and colored you know live stream content basically. And I don't know, I'm just thinking um, about a lot of things, because obviously ever since Thursday, um, I had to think about a lot of stuff. One of the main things is, do I see a future here? In the UK, I thought it was home. I thought this was the country that I would like to live in. And now, well, I've only been in the UK for about 12 years, and I can tell you that it's not the same as it used to be. So I can only imagine what it's like for people who have been here for longer. I don't think I like it anymore. I'm definitely, and I am actually, working to find a way out, move elsewhere. Um, because, yeah, it's just ridiculous. And it almost feels like when I left Romania, although again, it was much more complicated than just, I'm just going to go and have a better life. Obviously, I think I've shared that story, and you'll hear about it at some point, another point in the future. It wasn't necessarily that story of like, I just need to, start doing all these things, and like again, I'm leaving my home country and with the hopes to go elsewhere. But I just remember when I got here, I didn't like it, for a while, because obviously I was struggling with my own life, and I was living with some very abusive people, one of them being my birth giver. And then after I managed to escape from there, I was living in shared house, um, almost homeless for a while, um, and all these things happened, and obviously I didn't like it. I didn't, but I once I once I managed to get it together, once I managed to understand how things work, um, I loved it. And I still love it now. Of course, I still, again, I want the best for this country, but I don't think there are good days ahead of us. Like, it's really hard to look at it like that. It feels very, very dark, very miserable, very unsafe. I'm never, I remember almost 10 years ago, I used to to work in a bakery, and I'd finish work at like 12 or sometimes 1 in the morning. And I would go home, and sometimes I'd walk actually through these like warehousey bits, really like rough, in Manchester, where actually loads of ladies of the night would conduct their business, and I still felt much safer, knowing that I'm walking between like those ladies, their clients and pimps, you know, than I feel now. When I I I don't use my phone. I don't take the phone out of my pocket, because there were a couple of times when someone tried to snatch it and they failed. But still, you never know. What kind of asshole in low life is going to try to snatch your phone, and whether he's carrying a weapon with him. You know, and obviously, I do always fear for the safety of my fiance. Like, I rarely go to sleep, or even if I'm in bed, I don't really fall asleep unless I see on the maps that she's either very close to home, or that I hear the door and she's kind of like walked in the house, because I'm always, on alert. And why is this happening? Because of the sort of people that live around here, that live in this country. That, it wasn't like this. I don't remember being like this always, but it is like this now. It's sad. It's scary. It's not good. That's it. It's simply pure and simple, not good. And yeah, coming back to actually something that I wanted to say earlier is, when I left Romania, I thought that I'll come to a one of the best countries in the world. And throughout these 12 years, all I've seen is this decline, which, kind of, I want to say, since around COVID, you went from like a slow decline to absolutely plummeting. I wish I could say that, oh, is the government, the old government was is the one that started this. I know I've read history when I was a kid. My parents have taught me to never like someone like Tony Blair, and I know him and many others are to be held accountable for everything that's happening now. But still, you know, it's I think it's time to go. That's it. Got a couple of years to finish my studies, and once I'm done with my degree, I've got 2 years to convince my fiance to say yes to leaving, because my mind is pretty set. Don't think there is a way back. I don't think even the drasticest. I don't think there are going to be any drastic changes that are going to happen. Uh, and I feel like even if things don't keep going this worse or get worse, even if they stay at this level, it's already too much. It's already too late. So, yeah, I feel like, obviously I would have not expected to have such a long intro. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning when I'm recording this, by the way. Um, and I wish I could tell you, oh, I can't sleep because of this. No, I can't sleep because I had like a pre-workout drink at 5 p.m., which was a terrible mistake. And I also fell asleep for a few hours around noon because I was just extremely tired. So that's not the point. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is that I I knew that I'm gonna talk about. I've got to talk about how I felt since Thursday. Um, I There was no script, as you can probably hear. I had to take loads of breaks between my words and what I'm about to say, just to make sure that I say I basically I put my feelings in the right words. And yeah, I think I think that's it. Intro wise, very long intro. I can't remember the last time I went over 15 minutes, almost 16, 17 minutes by the time this is going to end as an intro. But it had to be said, I think. If you didn't like it, I'm sorry for wasting your time. Um, it's not going to, hopefully, it's not going to happen again for a while. Hopefully, again, things will just stay at this level, maybe get slightly better, but it's almost like you're going on if you were to have like a graph, you're going way below zero and you're just kind of like spiraling around there, but even getting to zero would be a miracle, which I don't think is going to happen. Never mind seeing the progress line actually go above zero and start escalating to a nice, beautiful, big number. Um, but again, even if things stay just around this level, you shouldn't hear from me, or at least you shouldn't hear such a long intro from me again for a while. Um, I hope you enjoyed this episode because, yeah, once again, it's been such a pleasure speaking with Johnny, and he's one of my favorite people on the internet. I have to say that, by the way. So obviously, I'm extremely biased, and I'm aware and I'm comfortable with that. Um, yeah, that's it. Basically, Jonathan Elkhoury is my guest. Enjoy. Okay, so Johnny, how's it going?
I'm doing well, Livy. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I already, shared my love for you and for your content a little bit before the we started recording, but I feel like I should say it again now that we've pressed record. Yeah, I love your stuff, and I'm very grateful for you to take the time to talk to me today.
Thank you very much for having me. I was really looking forward to it. I follow you also on Instagram and social media, and it's fantastic to speak to you face to face.
I mean, yeah, it's such a pleasure, but yeah, what where do we start? Because now you're in Israel,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It's Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The birds are tweaking and like everything is silent, no cars, nothing is happening. Thank God. I hope that the Houthis will not fire a rocket. But but it's super quiet and it's amazing. It's like the country shut down for 25 hours.
How does it feel? Because actually, this is yeah, I've never got to experience that.
Really?
So yeah, because I've never been during like high holidays. So yeah, what's it like?
Oh, this is well, it's like first of all, you need to make sure that you have all the ingredients if you're not keeping like if you're not fasting. So it's also like for the Jews and non-Jews. I go to the store like a few hours before everything shuts down to make sure that I have like things to survive for 25 hours. But it's basically a relaxed time. It's like everything is closed. If you're living next door to friends that you can like walk by to them or like cycle there, then you'll do that and then you'll meet friends. But like for example, this year, every year I used to do it at my place of work. I used to work in a hotel. And hotels work also on Yom Kippur. There's also guests there. So I would always be the receptionist during this 25 hours. But I would be there with the family of the hotel because it's a family owned business. So I would always be with someone. This is, I think, the first year that I've spent Yom Kippur by myself. And I have to say, I mean, I really needed that quiet time. Although I didn't really disconnect from social media, though I need that sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's an important that's an important thing, and I sometimes, like when I do it, and it's not the case of, because I don't keep Shabbat,
Hmm.
unfortunately. It's something that I would like to do, but I don't do it right now. But then sometimes, even when I like put my phone away for a couple hours, it just feels so amazing and so like refreshing. So I can imagine, the whole 25-hour journey. But then also, it's actually I'm quite curious about it, because obviously you're Christian, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, what's it like for you? Because then obviously, like, you do have, like, Jewish friends.
Yeah.
So, like, what would you say you going and hanging out with them, on occasions like Yom Kippur, or do you just actually like just stay at home and relax and spend some like time on your own?
Yeah, so like during my high school and like middle school, we would go out, we would meet like in the center of the city. We would go, we just hang for like the night and then go back in the morning to the house. Because a lot of them wouldn't also fast, but also those who fasted, we would be together. But like I wouldn't eat next to them because it's like I want, it's like when I don't eat next to my Muslim friends when they're fasting for Ramadan. It's to just honor their request and not to like make it even more harder for them to fast. um and yeah, today like I took the time to finish a series that I really wanted to watch for a long time. I played some Xbox. I like tried to disconnect because I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, it's a difficult times that we're in. It's almost 2 years for this war, and I haven't taken a break, so I just needed that. And I think Yom Kippur was the fantastic day. And I always look at the Jewish people. I have a lot of like Shabbat keeper like friends, and I always was like you said, like I always thought about it. Maybe I'll just like take 24 hours to disconnect from social media, but I'm like too hooked for that. so 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 I still
It's
can't.
tough.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, especially and I think even like more so for yourself, because would you say, you're kind of like, you're talking about like news, you're talking about things that are happening. I think it makes it even harder, because I feel like sometimes, I feel I feel guilty, because I'm like, I could just not like share a funny reel or something, for a day, like
Yeah.
nothing would happen. But then when you're almost like, oh, something has happened, you want to speak on it, you want to share your thoughts on it, you kind of have to do it. And it's quite interesting. It's an interesting paradox. It's almost like, is the evil that you have to work with, is the thing that you have to do. But in the other hand, I agree with you that, after, yeah, like you said, almost 2 years. I think it's what, 1 week.
Yeah.
uh yeah, we got one week until it's going to be 2 years. um it's nice to have a break. It's nice to take some time, because I think I mean, I imagine you'd agree. Or actually, I want to hear your thoughts on this, because you got to look after yourself first before you look after others.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I try to do that all along. Like for example, the first few days after October 7th, there's all these videos that started appearing that Hamas themselves published, or like other videos of people who were like killed and butchered by Hamas, or people who were taken into captivity and be basically abducted from the party or from their homes. And I remember when we opened like a day after, we opened this emergency kind of like room where we started collecting all these images, and we asked ourselves, what can we do with this material that we just got? Because first of all, there might be a lot of family members that haven't yet seen these videos of their loved ones being killed or being kidnapped to Gaza. And then also this is a big responsibility, and I don't want to disrespect also the dead. This is something that is like super crucial. So I remember when we started collecting these videos and we started to kind of put them into like, boxes of like, this is that, this is this. I think I've watched only few, and then I immediately stopped because I knew that I can't continue on watching them anymore because it started to have the toll on my soul, on my body, on everything. That was like the first. It was insane. You can cut that later, but I like smoked a whole pack of like rolling tobacco that day of October 7th from like the anxiety that was happening. you can you can cut that
Oh,
out
I
later.
mean, if it's okay with you, I won't cut it. We got to keep it there.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
and I understand the feeling. I feel like I I'm sober with everything, but the one thing that I miss the most is cigarettes.
Yeah,
And
well,
I feel every time I get even a little bit anxious or like a little bit stressed, I wish I could just, go through hundreds of cigarettes.
yeah,
So
I don't do
I mean,
weed. I don't really drink alcohol. So like cigarettes is like my only place to go to. Although I know it's like super not healthy, I tried to stop one day, and then I had to reflect with myself. It was a question of like, should I pick up a cigarette and get back on smoking, or should I send a text? And I decided to go back to smoke instead of sending a text. That was my decision.
but you see, this is the thing. I'm like, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, you don't want to. Well, like I think I'm talking about myself, or not. But like, I know I don't want to smoke, and I
Yeah.
don't want. But then again, like, I'm just like, oh, this one thing where, because actually, it might. Obviously, I'm sure loads of people are not gonna agree with what I'm about to say, but I feel like it's like it's a reflection time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's a time to meditate. It's a time to just be more mindful. Although, again, obviously, in one hand, it's quite sad that you need to, have a cigarette for you to take a moment to be mindful and to have a chat with yourself. But in the other hand, is the way it is.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
also like I do rolling tobacco. So like the rolling itself, it's some sort of like a touch therapy that you just like you need to like fix it and do it like well.
yeah.
And also like after that day, I'm like, okay, this is too much. So like I've like really kept it down since then. But that was like my way to kind of run away for a second.
Actually, because this is before we talk a bit more about like, how you felt like after, like in that moment, I want to actually ask you a bit like about how you felt before. So not even before October 7th, because I want to take it like a little bit gradually. Because you talked about how you referred to we set up an emergency room.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Like, were you is it perhaps like you felt like something can happen? Was it when did you join? And also, when you say we, if you don't mind me asking, can you tell us again who do you refer to as we?
Oh yeah, of course. So basically, I've been doing public diplomacy for at least the 10 years. That was something that I'm super passionate about. This is something that I've kind of did because I saw what is going on in the world regards of Israel, and it started from my own personal experience and perspective. So back in 2016 was my first ever delegation to the U.S. Although I did. Stockholm in 2014. I did like other European countries, but 2016 was my first year to kind of start doing on college campuses in particularly. After I've been active in Israel in a Christian group, basically telling the foreign ministry, hey, listen, today what's going on in the world with the BDS movement when it started to kind of take off, when it started to operate, minorities are the center of issues, is how a country is treating its minorities. So these BDS activists are using me as a minority living in Israel to attack Israel wrongfully, using my name, using my story in a wrongful way. Not personally my story, but I mean like Israeli
Yeah.
minorities in general. And we told them, like, listen, I told them in one of the committees in the Knesset back then, we need minorities in the front line of public diplomacy for Israel to share their experience, to share their own Israeli story, and also to talk about, the issues that we have here if we're asked about it, because Israel is not perfect. And this organization that today is called DiploAct answered they answered my call, but like I wasn't calling them in particular, but they called me one day, their CEO, and it was like, hey, I've like heard of you and I've seen you like speak and talk, and I know that you want to build this group of minorities. Here you have a platform. This is your kind of funding that you have. Go build your group and start, doing with it what you want to do with it. And I've took more than 40 delegations to the US and Europe from 2017 till 2019, a little bit before COVID. So I always kept in touch with them because like I left the organization. I was like dealing with my personal issues. I didn't know what I want to do as a grown-up person. So I finished my degree. I like had time. We were all in COVID. So I had the time to finish my degree during COVID. That was fantastic. Um,
Well done.
and then being in contact with them after October 7th happened, we immediately thought what we should do. And Diploact were like, listen, we're gonna meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. Come and like bring anyone you know that wants to help. And I just attended because that was like so important and so um and all my friends that I know were like drafted to the IDF immediately on that Saturday. So we immediately understood, even before we knew what was going on, that this war is different. Like this war is nothing like what we experienced before, in a different level. And also the aftermath of it was insane till today.
I see. Right. And now you're. I didn't know you've been going like such a long time back for you.
Yeah.
I think it's super cool.
Because like social
Um,
media, I started doing right after October 7th. I was like a person on the ground. I would go and like meet with people, talk on panels, talk on college campuses. Like for example, Charlie Kirk. I used to do that since
yeah.
2017. I used to go to college campuses, sit there, speak with students, open a booth with a pro-Israeli activist on campus, and speak with students that passes by. We go to anti-Israeli weeks to refute this like so-called apartheid wall that they would build in the middle of campus. We would debate. And this is what I've been doing. So I was like on the ground type of a person. And I didn't really put much effort on social media because by the way, it's still till today. I do social media because I have to do social media. Um, but till today, I believe that the one-on-one conversations are much more meaningful than a video could be, in my opinion.
And you know what? I can see that, and I would say in regard to like the I would say the meaningfulness behind it, because I feel like online it's quite easy to. And again, please share your thoughts and share your opinion if it is different from mine. But in my opinion, I think online it's easy to solidify something that you already believe in.
Yeah, it's
You know,
an
like
echo
to
chamber.
find the evidence, yeah, to find the evidence that you are right. Whilst, when you're speaking, because I feel like in person you can't be as dismissive, because if someone sends you like you say, because this has happened to me in a couple of situations where I would like have arguments with people that I used to be friends with, before October 7 and stuff like this, and you'd get like this like huge piece of text, and then blah, you know what, I'll read it when I'll read it, or like I'll
I'm
and
familiar
then
with this.
you'll send it back. Whilst when you're in person, you, or at least again with people that actually are willing to be open for a discussion, because
Yeah.
that's also very important.
Oh, yeah. People
But
that are
people
not
who are
open for
open,
discussion, I will not waste my time on them in person. I will tell them, I'm sorry, this conversation is not going anywhere. I'm not going to continue talking to you. I say that as bluntly as it is. It's like I already know how to like pick up the person who actually came to speak to me and the person who's just, trying me up and like asking me questions and keep deflecting when I ask them question. So I just if I see that it's like we say in Hebrew litchon mayim, to grind water. It's to grind water. It's not effective. It's not getting anywhere. So why
Yeah.
keep doing it?
Well, you see, actually, on that, because how did you become again? Like, how did you become the Jonathan Elkhoury of even not even today, but the Jonathan Elkhoury of 2016? Because obviously, you said about how you kind of like had this you recognize the dangers of, which actually I always found it hilarious because technically, as far as I know, Jews run the media, right? And
Mhm.
then you see the amount of hate that we have towards ourselves on the media, and like, hey, we're not doing a great job at running the media.
Yeah.
And then obviously you recognize it. Actually, at the time when I didn't even I'd be honest, I didn't think about it much. Like I'd see anti-Semitism here and then, and I'd be like, oh, that's a bit weird, but whatever. And then you just move on. But then you're one of these people who are before their time recognize it. So now, yeah, how did you become this person? Like, because you also said you're passionate about like social activism. You're passionate about like speaking up, and building up these platforms. How did that happen?
Well, it started from my personal kind of issue. When I was born in Lebanon and I fled to Israel at the age of 9. My dad was part of the South Lebanon Army. That's an army that was established in 1982 when Israel was basically invading Lebanon to fight against the PLO and Yasser Arafat that were basically massacring us, the Christians in Lebanon, and also the Shia Muslims, and also the Druze communities in Lebanon. Not all of them, but like half of them. Um, and the civil war was ongoing, and a lot of Christians in Lebanon asked Israel for help because Israel was suffering from the same enemy, from the same terrorist organization that was miserabling our life, was making Israel's life as hell. So my dad joined for 18 years. He was a soldier in the South Lebanon army, fought alongside the IDF against the PLO, and later on against Hezbollah when they started operating in Lebanon in a much more meaningful way for them, becoming a much more dangerous terrorist organization funded and created by the Islamic Republic of Iran. So when I fled to Israel, I was the only Arab speaking kid in the classroom or in the school itself when I came to Israel in Haifa, where I live. Because also I found myself in between two communities. When we came to Israel, the Lebanese people, there were about 3,500 people today that fled from Lebanon to Israel. The majority of us are Christians. So when we came here, the Arab community refused to accept us to their schools, to their community centers, and to their churches even at the beginning. Now it's different, but back then they were saying that these are traitors. They collaborated with Israel against the Palestinians, against their own people. We don't want anything to do with them. So this is when I'm saying I fell in between these two communities. One, the Arabic community that didn't see me as part of it, and we didn't see ourselves part of it because we we weren't Palestinians and we weren't, having this type of history. We suffered from the Palestinians in Lebanon. Yet on the other hand, we're also not Jewish, so we're not part of the Jewish community. So kind of like I need to go into this tour of like identity crisis since the age of 9. And I found myself back then, my teacher asking me, like, who are you? Like, explain to the classroom, what's Lebanon? What's Christians? Because, like, they were all Jewish. So it's kind of started from there, like this tiny thing of like sharing my personal story, sharing my personal identity, uh, putting myself out there to show people that there are different people than themselves and that we're present and that we're here and we're going to be proud of it. I remember, a lot of times when I was growing up, I felt that sometimes people wanted me to choose if I'm Israeli or Lebanese. And I never accepted to choose. I'm like, I'm both of them. I'm Lebanese because this is where my homeland is till today. Lebanon will always be my homeland. But I'm Israeli because this is my home. This is the ID that I have today. I'm fully Israeli and proud of it. Um, so this is kind of where that kind of started to tickle in my mind. to the need to be present and never hide myself, to be proud of who I am.
In that moment when you again when you as you were going through these things, um, I'm curious, what was like speaking with your parents about it? Like, were they? Because I imagine obviously they must have had their own problems. Because you talked about how this you talked about how they were kind of like excluded from Arab schools or anything like that. But again, like my pure honest like curiosity is. Yeah, what was it like? Did you have those discussions in the house? Perhaps was it something that you were speaking about between each other at the time, or was it something that was dealt more with more internally, and you only got to reflect about it as the years go by?
No, I think I really kind of followed my dad on that, because my dad was always like, "This is our home now. This is who we are. We're Israelis. We need to contribute to the society that we live in. We need to be part of the society." And kind of not in a way of like we're erasing ourselves, but it's alongside of it. So my brother, he's 4 years older than me. When he got to the age of 18, he served in the IDF, and he did his IDF service. He was, I think, one of the first South Lebanon Army people who did IDF. And then when it got to my turn, and I received a draft, because I don't know if people know that in Israel, almost every Jew that gets to the age of 17, they get a draft to the IDF. Muslims, Christians, and Bedouins don't receive a draft to the IDF because it's not obligatory by law. So only Jews and male Druze. Also, the female Druze, they're not obligated because of religious reasons. But the South Lebanon Army community, we receive a draft to the IDF because it's kind of like known that we're going to do something. So when it got to my turn, I sat with my dad. I'm like, "Dad, I don't know like what to do," because I was like super frightened from doing a military. I was like super in the closet back then. I didn't know what I know today about the IDF. Like back in the
Yeah.
90s, we had out of the closet officers and like transgenders in the military. I didn't know that. I can like request separate shower times. I had no idea because I had no one to ask. And I was like so in the closet. So my dad I sat down with my dad. He's like, "Listen, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to tell you to do a national service or military service, but you're going to do one of them. This is kind of my final word on it. It's not a question if it's military service or nothing. It's military service or national service. And national service, it's like the equivalent of military service, just like in civil clothing. You go to a hospital, and I was 2 years in a hospital in Haifa. So that was kind of like what my dad always pushed us to be. He's like, "This is our history. You need to remember our history, but never live it. Keep on. This is our home. This is our future. You need to work towards your future. And this is the country that we're living in. And we're going to do everything in our power to protect the country as it's protecting us."
Hmm. Wow, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, your dad sounds like a
Oh,
cool
my
guy.
dad is amazing. He's my biggest fan. So,
Yeah, actually, you know what? Because I'm quite curious now. How does does he speak English as well?
no, he
Oh,
understands he understands a little bit of English, but he
right.
doesn't speak English.
Right, because I was quite curious to see what. But I mean, I imagine he's seen you. He's seen some of your speeches,
Oh
perhaps.
yeah. I
Because
would
you've
ask
done it in
him.
Hebrew and Arabic as well.
Yeah, I've done it in Hebrew, Arabic, English, and I would ask him. I would ask him a lot. Like for example, history things. There's a lot of things that I don't know, especially like what happened in Lebanon, because when Hezbollah won, they won after Israel withdrew in May 2000, and we fled Lebanon. They rewrote the history books. They kind of changed the history from what had happened. A lot of documentation that the Lebanese government were having with Israel were destroyed, and they were never to be found. So the information is only present with the people who were there at the time. And my dad was one of the people who were there. So I would ask him a lot about these like history and what happened. And also, he gives me a lot of recommendations on what to say, what not to say, where to look. He sends me all the time links of like Arab scholars and what they're saying about Israel and stuff like that. Before every TV appearance that I have, and I want to go talk about Lebanon, I will ask him and like get suggestions from him on how to follow, because we still follow Lebanese news in our home. And
Mm.
during the war with Lebanon, that was like exactly 1 year ago with Hezbollah, sorry, not Lebanon. He would sit in front of the TV 24 hours. So he would always like tell me, listen, the prime minister said this and that on this TV station. Go look it up. It will help you out with your interview tomorrow. So this is kind of like my
Wow,
relationship with my dad. Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. What I was gonna say now, we okay. Let's talk. So we found out you worked with Diplo Act in the past.
Yeah.
Then you took a break, went back to finish your studies. October 7 happened.
Hmm.
You're back, and then now is the question that I wanted to ask you before, which was, what did it feel like? Because obviously you said on the day, loads of your like Jewish friends got letters. They basically they got called up in the IDF. You could sense that it's a bit of a, like, this is big, like something is going to happen. But then, even as the days go by, like you said, you see some, very explicit, images. You see some very explicit content. But then, you're trying to, which I think is a wonderful thing, by the way. And I've got to learn more about it, about this idea of, before you start sharing something, about the victim, you gotta see whether the family knows first. You
Yeah.
gotta, it's almost something that I haven't even thought about before. Where you're like, do they know yet? Do we have are we allowed to basically, like, should we do that? Is that the right thing to do or not? But now you're talking about it. You're sharing the story as it is, as you see it. Um, how was it, like, because you talked about like smoking a lot of cigarettes at the time, and going through those moments, but like, having to write, or like having to share a story whilst the heart is like still racing.
Yeah. So it took me a week till it clicked for me, like the kind of like the depth of it and like how major this event is for us as Israelis, and for me personally also, because kind of like a week after I heard my mom speaking with her friend on the phone, where she said what happened uh, to the communities in south of Israel by the border with Gaza. It's the same thing that happened to us in Lebanon back in the 70s by the Palestinians. And how the Palestinians entered the Christian villages and just slaughtered people left and right, and kids, and they would cut their kind of second finger for them, like if they little kids, so when they grow up
Yeah.
they will not be able to hold a rifle. These are kind of like yeah, they would do like shooting squads in the streets of complete families. They would burn them alive. This is what the Palestinian did to Christians in Lebanon during the 70s. And I've kind of caught what my mom said, and then I tweeted in Hebrew. I sent a tweet. It was a Friday, I remember it, or it was a Thursday. It was a Thursday night after October 7th, like the first Thursday after October 7th. And I remember I tweeted, like, I just heard my mom saying what happened to the communities in south of Israel is the same thing that happened to us during the 70s by the Palestinians. And that tweet went viral. I didn't even notice that night. I woke up the second day. I've got so many messages from so many people. It was featured on one of like the most like famous Facebook pages in Israel with like millions of followers. The Lebanese journalist Jonathan Elkhoury wrote this, and and I'm like, oh my god, like this is serious. Because first of all, I was like, this is my mom's story. Like, I took the liberty to share my mom's story. Like, I didn't even ask her if it's okay with her that I shared that story. And I remember I was dating someone back then. I remember calling him like at 2 hours. I was like sobbing on the phone with him because this kind of like thing really showed me what my parents went through the 70s, because there is like black and white footage from back then, but I've seen the now colored videos of October 7th and what happened and uh, um, monstrous were Hamas and the Gazans who entered Israel, and what they did to the Israelis and the kids and the families and the elderly. And now I have an actual image of how could have it looked back then in the 70s to my mom in her village and what she experienced and what she have seen. And that kind of like immediately, I think I disconnected from social media for like 2 days after that. I had no following back then. I had like 8,000 followers on Twitter because like I've built a following because I keep on, I've, for years I've been like speaking on in Israeli news about Lebanon, about Israel, about my activity abroad, but I was never actually like properly active on social media, let alone Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. I like just like I don't think I even had the TikTok app when October 7th happened. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But I had like maybe 400 followers. So like I wasn't really on social media. And then on Twitter suddenly like this tweet went super viral and it kind of showed me the importance of sharing these personal stories. So I kind of brought it home. I started sharing also my story and why am I protecting Israel, because it's the same thing that happened to us by the same people, 50 years difference. And kind of this is what kicked in for me to start speaking. So I started doing videos in Arabic. The first week I did videos in Arabic to show the Arab world what happened. I did a lot of videos to the Lebanese audience, basically telling them this is our story. What Hamas did is what the PLO did to our parents back in the 70s and 80s. So know who you should side with on this. And this is how kind of I started sharing it. And I think till today, I still like try not to think about it. I'm fantastic with deflecting. Like I'm since childhood, I'm scoring it 10 out of 10 in deflecting to humor, to other things, to not be, to not be in depth with this thoughts and feelings. And it's a good thing that I'm going to therapy. I think that helped me a lot that I started going to therapy a little bit before October 7th. So I think I was saved because of it.
Right, but you see, this is the thing is because actually, as you were talking, you can see the emotion, that you got. Like I think at some point as you were speaking, I could actually feel like chills on my arms because I was like, this is, you can see the again the emotions behind what you're saying, and how impactful it feels and it should feel. But then, you talked about like, oh, you started doing therapy a little bit before anyway, but and you actually also mentioned the deflection part, like, oh, some. However, like you still, do you recognize yourself, say, in a moment, whether you're say like your emotional side is taking over and you're going to say or you're going to write something that might be again too emotional, you might regret it later, or do you manage to see the trigger warnings before that and stop before, or is it the combination of both? Yeah, what's it like?
Yeah, I think I'm now more filtered in that like I would write something and I'm not necessarily going to publish it, but I'll keep it in a draft. I will think like a lot before I publish something. Sometimes I just want to publish like a humoristic things. I also like think twice if I want to publish it, if it suits the situation or not. or like videos, like funny videos. It's also like the question of like how much of it, or like how much of personality I want to show. Is it suitable? Is it my style? Is it like what kind of like I want people to know about or to know about me? So this is kind of a question of debate, especially when you're like always putting yourself out there in the public eye. You need to think about it. But I remember I'm laughing because, like, for example, one time I was sick for a week, and then back at the day I used to be part of the Israeli how do you call it? Oh my god, I forgot the name. I'm awful with names, like even organizations that I worked with, I'm like awful with names. um the Israeli Citizen Spokesperson's Office, yes, with Elon Levy and other amazing people that were with us. I know their names. I promise I know their names. Ashley Vaxman Bakshi, and other Ruth Wasserman Lande, amazing people. So so one day I was there like with Elon, and he had this bracelets of like FCK Hamas, FC like fuck Hamas, fuck Hezbollah.
Yeah.
So I put them both on me, and I told Elon, let's do a photo of like the both of us like doing this. And then I filmed my own photo, like a selfie, and I put it on Twitter. I said, "What do you think about my new friendship bracelet?" Like a reference to Taylor Swift. Um, and I tagged Corbyn. What's his name? Corbyn, the UK.
Yeah. Oh, Jeremy.
I tagged Jeremy Corbyn. This tweet got 2 million views, about 3,000 comments, and 99.9% of the comments were on my lips. Because I was sick for a week and my lips were super dry, so you could see that they're like super dry lips.
Yeah.
And all the comments were on my lips, like nasty comments. They did memes of my like a donut hole and my lips, other things that could be similar to this and my lips. It was nasty. But I've started putting a lot of like lip gloss ever since, using chapstick. But I took that gig and I did like a video of me like with one of the videos with the chapstick, and like I
Yeah.
tried to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
I tried to make fun of it. I'm like, till today I make fun of it with like every video that people want me to film. I'm like, wait a minute, I will take out the chapstick, and I start putting the chapstick on. Um, it affects on one hand, but on the other hand, I'm like trying to make it like funnier. Uh,
Yeah.
but I will think
Oh
twice
God.
before I publish a photo now if my lips are cranky or not.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think what I found in these situations is that even if like the people who are about to comment stuff like that, they will try to delegitimize you or like whatever you stand up for, and they will go to whatever it takes.
Yeah,
So if you say if you weren't sick for a week and you had just like you, I mean, as far as I can see now, wildly wonderful wonderful lips. I was going to say shaped lips, but I think there's only one shaped lip. But even
no,
if
there's a
you
lot of
did the picture
shapes.
now,
Yeah,
it wouldn't have mattered because it would have been something else
yeah. It
that.
could have been my like the black under my eyes, or like how my beard is. It could be everything.
Exactly. So that's why I feel like with stuff like this, I'm kind of like, yeah, great deflection. It's like we're gonna, we're gonna ignore the fact that you're basically saying what you'd hope that most of like most people who have a sense of common decency and understanding of not even history but like actual like present and the dangers of the future would hold, which is fuck Hamas, fuck Hezbollah.
Yeah.
But then they go like, nah, the lips are dry. That's the message is like,
Yeah.
use chapstick. Yeah, I think actually it's such a good chap. I hope chopsticks like they would do an advert with it. You know?
Yeah, I'm like, why haven't they? Like, I've done a lot. No,
Yeah, I think.
I
Sorry, go on.
no, I remember one time in Israel, like a few years ago, um, there was this tahini company that is called El Arz. And the owner, she's a Christian from Nazareth, or like from one of the villages in the north, and she decided to donate to the LGBTQ plus center in Israel for a hotline for Arab LGBTQ LGBTQ plus people in the closet that need assistance, because we had it in Hebrew, but a lot of Arabs at that age of like 18, 19, 17, 16, they don't know how to speak Hebrew that well, and they need someone to understand, or also to understand what they are going through in the community, because it's different. Like someone that is in the closet in an Arab family, it could be different from a Jewish family. Um, and they did a huge campaign in all the retailers in the Arab community to boycott her tahini company. And they did videos of them like throwing away her tahini and everything. So me and another like activist online, we started a campaign to buy her tahini, and we started like advertising it, publishing it. It like the Israeli embassy bought like 50 tons of tahini or whatever, all across the world. Yeah, yeah, like it was like huge to try and like help her and like stand beside her, because she stood for LGBTQ plus people, and this is super important. So I remember like a month after I returned back home, and this is the tahini that we use at home. And I remember that my mom was like, she didn't even send you a box. Like you did this whole campaign and she didn't even send you a box. So it just reminded me of that a little bit.
What to this day you haven't received your box yet?
No, no, I'm not looking for that. At the end of the day, it was
I
something
know, but
super important. And I don't think I was even like the loudest of them all. But that was like
right, right,
But
right,
that was
right,
like
right.
so fantastic to see how it was welcomed by the Israeli community, and how they really, all of them stood and like supported her. And I think that was like the most profitable month that she ever had. That month,
But you see, actually, so because I want to ask you two things
not
from
month,
this. Because one
the
of
quarter. That was like the profitable quarter.
what I was going to ask you is that because sorry, just to double check because you were talking about like the helplines in Arabic.
Yeah.
Because was that still in like Israel? Was the campaign being run and then boycotted in Israel, or was it in Lebanon and like Palestinian
Oh no,
territory,
no, it was an
or
Israeli
was it
thing. It
everywhere?
was an Israeli thing.
Right, right,
No,
right,
no,
right,
she
right.
donated the LGBTQ plus center, not the center, the LGBTQ plus organization in Israel. It's called Ha'aguda. This is like the main, biggest, oldest LGBTQ
Right,
plus organization, and they have a hotline, but she donated specifically for the Arabic one.
for the Arabic
Yeah,
one.
but
I
in
see, I
Israel,
see, I see.
she was
Right.
also attacked, by the
Uh,
way, by a Palestinian LGBTQ plus organization that said that she is normalizing the Zionist because she sent a donation to a Jewish Israeli organization.
right. Okay. Because that's yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah,
That's outrageous. You know, the second question then is because I this is something that I had the I'm trying to like I wrap my head around for a while. But you mentioned the BDS 2016, and you know the basically obviously I think the rise was or like it started before that,
I
but
think
like
it was 2012 when they started.
noticing you know the trend because this is one of the arguments that I had with someone that I'm still friends with, by the way, but you know basically we were talking about the BDS thing, right? And I actually want to hear your thought on it because um, it was meant to be, oh, we are against like the settling, you know, like the businesses that are using settling land, right? But now when you go on the BDS like website or app, it's Israeli app, like Israeli businesses, regardless of where they are. So you could be like a stand-up guy, you know, who just lives in like the middle of Israel, who has probably like never even been to any of the, you know, the land that there is a conflict on,
Yeah.
right? And you would still be on the app.
Oh yeah, this is why now there's like this Hollywood star. letter to call to boycott Israeli production companies. So they stopped playing around it with like in the West Bank or companies that support the settlements or supports whatever. Now it's targeting 100% every Israeli that is affiliated with Israel or has an Israeli passport. We've seen it. 3,900 people signed this letter to boycott Israeli production companies. And my question was, when that was published, have you asked that from every Russian production company? Do they condemn Putin or not for the invasion of Ukraine? Have you ever asked any Lebanese artist or production company if they support Hezbollah, yes or not? Have you asked every Syrian production company or Syrian actor or actress if they support the Assad regime that bombed its own civilian and killed 500,000 people? And also, he bombed them with chemical weapons. Have you asked them that question if they are gonna go against their own country, yes or no, or just Israelis? Because if it's just Israelis, then it's 100% double standard and 100% anti-Semitic.
I think again, even because the xenophobia, right? That's a big one. That's a clear state of xenophobia. Again, even before you do go into the anti-Semitism, which is because there you have to go like, oh, it's specifically Jews. No, even any Israeli.
Yeah.
Because like I said, you're Israeli, so technically you're being boycotted. And stuff like this anyway. So basically, that's why I thought I would ask you, because this is something that I really can't understand, and because I see it quite a bit, and people are like, oh, but like they're trying to do like the good thing, or like I remember the argument that
Oh,
like it
do you
started
know
with
that
some.
back in 2017, I think, was it 2017 or 2018? The pro-Israeli group, I think it was in King's College, they tried to book me for an event with other like two speakers. And then the campus replied back with a no, that I am a controversial speaker and I can't speak on campus.
Nice. And this is no. Sometimes it blows my mind because it's like, what, you're a controversial
Yes.
speaker.
Yeah.
You're a a Lebanese Christian gay man.
It's because I say that Israel is not an apartheid. So that's controversial. But when they have a speaker who says that Israel is an apartheid, that's not controversial.
And it's and you see, this is the thing now in these situations, because obviously um, we talked about like what it was like in October 7th. Now, like what it's like to be like on social media now. And thank you so much for sharing that story with the lip the dry lip stuff. I think it is wonderful. But now, I want to ask you again a little bit more about, obviously you're doing all this work, right? And then you would expect that, when you're sharing, either your story or you're sharing again information that's like factually accurate, there would be close to no pushback, right? Because again, you're not talking about something that might have happened. You're not talking about, it's not an opinion. It's a fact.
Yeah.
But what does it feel like to get pushback for sharing factual information?
You know,
Like, do you get annoyed with it? Do you go like, how can you not see this sort of thing? Or like, how do you feel when that happens?
yes, I think one of my latest videos that I published was filmed while I was like super frustrated. There was a guy on Twitter that shared a video of a person who shared from Tel Aviv. He like filmed the promenade in Tel Aviv, like how amazing it is and amazing. He's like, this is the situation now in Tel Aviv, full of people, everyone. And then this guy retweeted it and said, this is not Tel Aviv. This is Jaffa, where my mom was born, and she was forced to flee, and blah blah blah. And this tweet got almost more than 10 million views, around 160,000 likes for a tweet that is a complete lie. I'm not saying that his mom wasn't from Jaffa, but this video is from Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is known to be because there's Tel Aviv and Tel Aviv Jaffa. You know, there's like the biggest metropolitan of Tel Aviv includes
Yeah.
Jaffa. This is like the name of the municipality, Tel Aviv Jaffa. But Jaffa is a territory and Tel Aviv is a territory. It's well known. You can even see with videos, you can tell if it's from Jaffa or from Tel Aviv because Jaffa is an old city where you can see the old buildings and everything. And I did this video that is like half humoristic but half kind of right. Like, I really feel sad for this guy because he doesn't really know where his mom was born. Because it's clearly that you're saying that your mom is born in Jaffa. Fantastic. This is not Jaffa. This is Tel Aviv that was built in 1909 by the Yeshuva Yehudi in Eretz Israel. Okay, that has nothing to do with Jaffa. That has nothing to do with also the Arabs kicking the Jews out of Jaffa throughout the years. So this is not where your mom was born. But I'm 100% sure that also he knows that this is not Jaffa. But this is the Palestinian or the anti-Israeli MO all along, to try and erase every Jewish presence in the land of Israel. And more than that, to kind of trick people with emotions. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of times Israeli content creators or pro-Israeli content creators, we never work on emotions. We always stick to the facts because that we know 100% that every fact is on our side. We know that history is on our side. So we always go to that right place where history needs to take its fraction or where history needs to take its place by defining the reality that we're living today by the facts that we know from history. Yet you see this other side. This tweet was the amazing example to show how emotions work better than facts. Because this video is not from Jaffa. His mom was not born in Tel Aviv, but she was born in Jaffa. And 170,000 people liked that tweet without even knowing that this video is not from Jaffa. So that's how they have been doing it. So a lot of times this is like the pushback on facts, because he could have chosen to say my mom was born in Jaffa and she had to flee. No, he had to retweet a video from Tel Aviv and write it about it. This is how they rewrite the history. This is how they rewrite it, with emotions, not with facts.
Yeah, which again, I always, I looked again when you share a picture, although sometimes it can be wildly misleading or staged of someone waiting for food, although you're there with a camera and trying to like get the most dramatic angle from it. It's easier to strike a chord than it would be to actually show why are those people queuing,
Yeah.
or like why are those things happening. And again, I think even although like you said, actually, although you have every yeah, actually, you have every right to be upset about the fact that your mom had to flee Jaffa, although Arabs who wanted to accept the idea of living in a state called Israel didn't have to flee,
Yeah.
and they were always okay to. But again, that's another a different point. But even with that, is like you can't be angry about it. You can go like, oh, this is not fair. Like my mom had to leave Java. Fine. But like you said, again, it's easier to strike a chord by being like, because I think it's something that I got actually called out by my fiance soon after October 7th. Because again, I was never a I was never I love history. I've read a lot of history books, but I've never been active in sharing my views.
Mm-hmm.
And then after October 7th, I was like, like me, actually before my mom passed away, me and mom, we were meant to go to Israel.
Wow.
Yeah, because after so many, basically, after my parents split up, I had quite like a rough time, almost homeless in the UK. A lot of things happened, and then I finally managed to get a job that was like making good money, and I was, feeling good about myself. And I was like, you know what, mom, let's go to Israel. and then the COVID happened, and
Mm.
we couldn't get we couldn't basically we couldn't get we couldn't go,
Yeah, there was no
and then
flights.
in within that whole like pandemic thing, my mom passed away.
Oh wow, I'm sorry.
So it's okay. And actually, for almost a year or so, I was so angry with religion. I was so angry. I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm never gonna go. I'm never gonna step foot in a synagogue or church or any place of worship. I'm never going to Israel. I'm never gonna do all these things, because it was kind of like a sign, for me to just give up on these
You
things.
felt betrayed.
And then yeah, and then again, like slowly throughout time, I was like, you know what? Actually, maybe I take it back. I'll try and ease up into it. But then October 7 happened, and then I posted something about if you wonder why I'm, because again, like every time I woke up to a feed of like people in the UK who were sharing you know the opposite of like people getting butchered.
Yeah.
And they were actually quite like, I remember people that I used to work with at the time. They went to one of those pro Palestine parades that day,
Wow.
where they were like, like for by any means necessary and all that stuff. And then you see that, and then you see the other, like, and then I wake up to like some messages for some Jewish friends that I have, and some like Israeli news, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? And then you open like Instagram and X and TikTok, and people are like, that was great. That's like, this is the way to respond. And then I made this post about like how I shared a bit of information about like my mom's history, and like why why I care. And then my fiance was like, yeah, but can you see that you're kind of like, you're telling people that if they don't care about your mom, then they are bad people. And
Yes.
I was like,
Yes, this is
and I
yes.
saw it, and now I'm trying, and again, you see, now I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that again. Like, obviously, if someone asks me the reasoning behind, or like why I'm emotionally involved in something, I will share it. But then I was like, yeah, that's actually that's a good point. You should take the emotions out of sharing factual truths, and like, again, like just facts and real evidence. And then I was like, okay, so like, obviously, love of my life, I adore her, and I'm very grateful. But I'm like, how do other people don't see this? Like, how do other people don't see that? Obviously, it's easy, because I think it was the same point with the whole, like, with the Charlie Kirk assassination. It
Yeah.
was like, it's easy to say, oh, a fascist got killed. Because if you would say that, oh, someone who's, because if you go like, oh, a Christian, or even just a guy got killed, sounds bad. It's sad. But because if someone goes like, oh, again, because I remember like lots of people go, oh, Hitler got shot, then I'm like, you know what? You're like, huh?
Yeah.
Because it's easy, you dehumanize it straight away, and then it's kind of like, oh, so if you dehumanize one side, then the other side must be the one that's righteous.
This is what they have done to the Israelis for the last 20 years. I think this is how we got to where we got today, because they try to show us as this unhumane people for so many years. And then October 7th happened, and then a lot of people stopped seeing us as human before that. So they were like, okay, so a bunch of people got killed because they're occupiers, because they're fascists, because they're European, they're colonizers, they're whatever, they're genocidal. This is how we got to a point where people stopped seeing Israelis as human beings. Because when we try to stick to the facts, a lot of times they spoke about emotions and they spoke about what happened, disregarding history, disregarding facts. And this is how you take people to the streets. Emotions take people to the streets and make them do the unthinkable thoughts of ripping down posters of a baby that was kidnapped by Hamas. Fir Bibas.
Yeah.
They put occupier on his photo when he was kidnapped by Hamas a few days after October 7th. I'm not talking to you about like a year after. A few days after October 7th.
Yeah.
The same day in the US on October 8th, because we already like had October 7th here,
Yeah.
there were people demonstrating against Israel, saying that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Israel didn't respond on October 7th.
Yeah.
or eighth or ninth.
I mean, you see, this is the quiet. I don't know. It's such an, you want to be like, oh, I believe in the world, and I believe in the the greater good. And obviously I think it's still like the fight that you're fighting, and the fight that I would say no. I would want to say that I'm fighting, but I'm not fighting. I'll be honest. I feel like I'm still not as engaged as I perhaps I should be. But anyway,
But you're
the
there,
fight that
you're
you're fighting.
present, and I think that it's important. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Sometimes I know that I'm gonna say it. A lot of times people think that the following is what's important, but I don't think it's the number of following. I don't have a huge following. I have more than I used to have before, yes, but I think I'm like on 30 on my Instagram. On like my Twitter also, I have like 40. It's not a huge following, but it gets to people at the end of the day, depending on how many people share it or what is the people who are sharing its status. This is what's important because a lot of times, for example, in Israel, a lot of Israeli content creators will receive thousands of likes and comments and shares, but they're all Israelis. So what did I do with that? So what help? Well, you have a lot of people that are living beside you, that are following you. And I think this is a lot of times way more important from a person in Israel sharing it to his own audience. My audience is more than 75% non-Israeli, so I'm happy for that because this is how I built it. I don't share Hebrew content on my social media except Twitter, but I don't share Hebrew content almost. So it's really helpful to reach an audience that is living abroad rather than audience that is here in Israel. I like go look at a lot of the Israeli content creators. The majority of their followers are Israelis.
Interesting. That's actually such a good point. Because actually, it's a good way to, because I'm conscious of time as well. But it's a good
Yeah.
way to now go full circle and be like, hey, that's what you said before, where you're like, you're sharing the story of a minority.
Yeah,
Of people that was a part of like minority community, and what that's like, and what that's truly like. And like you said, if you share it between people who already know,
yeah,
it's kind of like, oh yeah, I know. Like, why are you telling me?
exactly. It's
Whilst
like I
when
already
you
know
share it
this
with,
information. Like who is your targeted audience?
that's a very that's beautiful, and that's a very clever thing. I shouldn't think about it,
Yeah, that's
but
why I believe that every person, when they share to their story, when they share their own stories, when they share their own experience, mainly people who are living abroad, it's super important also because a lot of people don't think. I will tell you that also from Israeli perspective, a lot of Israelis don't think that what is happening abroad is important, and the community, the Jewish community living abroad, in October 8th woke up kind of alone. And a lot of people in Israel still didn't figure that out. So
yeah,
when you're
fair
sharing
enough.
your
Yeah,
own experience as a Jew living in London, in the current status and what's going on with the terror attack that was just happened this morning on Yom Kippur, um, this is different than the Israeli story. It's like these two stories needs to be shared next to each other, not one on top of each other. I can't go and tell people what Jews are feeling abroad because I'm not a Jew living abroad. And a lot of Jews who are living abroad or pro Israelis who are living abroad can't share my personal story. So they can't speak instead of me when they are speaking on panels because they don't know my experience as an Israeli, as a minority, as someone who lost friends on October 7th and after.
good point. And also, although quite sad that we have to we have to almost, like, this is the times we live.
Yeah.
I actually think that what you said, it also feels quite hopeful,
Oh, yeah.
because it's kind of like, you're, again, perhaps this is, we can use this as a wake-up call, where it's like, because we are in this together, whether you again, like I said, whether you're Israeli, whether you're a Jew, whether you're a non-Jew who just goes like, hey, this smells a bit weird, and I don't think I'm being told the truth, and I don't believe I don't believe this narrative. There is a voice for everyone, not just a voice, but there is something to listen to for everyone. And perhaps again, yeah, that's the wake up call to actually go like, because I know I spoke with funnily enough, because I met this Christian guy. He's from oh God, I can't remember. He's from an African country anywhere. I can't remember the country, but he was like, "Oh, I love Israel." It's like I went to Jerusalem. I went to like all the holy places. I went like it was like best weeks of my life. It was like I went 2 weeks at a time, and then I went 2 weeks again, and it's the best time in my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is great, because it's almost like if I were to tell you, or if again, if someone who lives in Israel, someone who goes regularly to Israel, I haven't been in ages, but then you'd be like, oh, that guy, that person's biased, you know.
Yeah.
But then when you have someone who came from outside, almost like outside, and you just went there, and especially not as a Jew, as a, if you're listening to Tucker Carlson, for example, you'd
Yeah.
think that how did a Christian get to go to Israel? This is fake news,
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, actually, the guy has been to Israel, and he had the best time of his life. He was like, best food. He was like,
Yeah,
Sultaniyat, I love
but then
Sultaniyat.
you have a person like Candace Owen, for example, and she said that one time she was in Jerusalem and a rabbi did a tour for her, and he told her, "This is the Muslim quarter in Jerusalem. This is where Muslims are allowed to live only in Jerusalem." And I was like, "Excuse me? I'm pretty sure that this rabbi have never said that sentence. There is a Muslim quarter, but it's not where Muslims are only allowed to live in Jerusalem. This is like a historic quarter. There's the Armenian quarter, there's the Christian quarter, I'm like, what are you talking about? So there are also people when they come here, they will twist the reality of what they've been told to fit their narrative or what they want to post about Israel today.
Yeah, but it's the same as like the thing is, sometimes with stuff like this, I just feel like, because I don't believe in the cancel culture, by the way. I believe that when people cancel by
Yeah,
themselves, that's the best way to, and that's why I feel like, and actually I think I have to give Konstantin Kissin the credit for saying this, but I feel like if anyone hasn't given Candace Owens the Alex Jones treatment yet, then that's a you
yeah,
problem. Because it's the same thing now. I was thinking, wow, so you're going to say that, say, in like Chinatown in London, is that the only place where Chinese people are
basically
allowed to live?
the
Is that how do you?
Koreatown in New York. There's only one street on 42nd Street.
Yeah, it's like, is that what you genuinely believe to be true?
Yeah, it's just
Anyway,
insane. But I'm
John, it's
optimistic.
been
I'm
such a.
optimistic. This is like this is what I want people to get out with listening to this. I'm super optimistic, and I'm sure that it will get better because I'm sure that at the end of the day, the truth will prevail, and we will be able to present it as much as possible.
And I also think that the truth and like the reality, however you want to say it, is that the the people who are allowed, they are the meanest, but they are they are not the majority.
Yeah,
So it's actually quite interesting and it's quite actually nice to see people that, when I wear my, Magen David, or even when even if I do, like I make a joke sometimes, and then it turns out I end up like saying that, oh, I'm
yeah,
Jewish, and then at the end of the set is actually random people who go like, oh, I love Jews, I love Israel, and it's like, and that's the kind of thing where like, oh, okay, like it actually feels, it doesn't feel like, oh, we are against the world. It's actually, again, I would like to see the majority waking up and going like, okay, we had enough of
yeah,
this. But at least, like you said, I feel like in the grand scheme of things, I'm also very hopeful. And with that in mind, again, I appreciate you so much for doing this.
yeah. Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
taking the time. I know we went a bit over, so I genuinely appreciate you. And I hope to see you either in Israel or in London.
Yeah, I would love
Maybe
that.
you're
I'm
getting.
I'm I'm planning on coming to London anytime soon. So if someone here is listening and want to invite me to a speaking engagement, feel free.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Look after
Thank
yourself.
you.
All the best, brother. Bye
Yalla,
bye.
bye.
I told you this was a good episode. Uh, not only good, I think it was brilliant. And yeah, I want to thank everyone who stick around and listen a lot. I want to thank you a lot. Um, and obviously, I want to thank Johnny for participating. I want to thank myself, for putting this together. Um, and that's it. Until next week. Thank you so much for listening. Honestly, thank you so much for listening. Um, I feel like this is, my dose of saying stuff that's not comedy related out, and feeling like I can share it with a platform, and not just scream in a mirror, which has been, I've done that quite a bit on Thursday. Uh, but yeah, that's it. Until next week, look after yourselves, and from me, Pickle and Sarma, stay skillful. Goodbye.